You got one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The DEEJ, Dan Jourdan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the DEEJ.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the DEEJ.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The sales energizer, Dan Jourdan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the sales energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the sales energizer, Dan Jourdan.
Boom! That's exactly it.
Do that. Let's do that. Boom!
Woo!
That's exactly it. Here we are, baby. It's a couple days before Christmas.
Oh, it's
beginning
to look a lot. Okay, we can't sing on the show. This is not a singing show.
You know, it's funny. Because you know how I put my name into every song, and so. You know, so as this time of year, all there was Christmas songs there on the radio. So I'm driving to work, and so it's beginning to look a lot like DEEJ. But then, you know, I realize I'm like replacing DEEJ with Christ.
Right,
I mean, that's
right.
like so you cut that one out there. You know, you don't want to.
Well, how would someone celebrate DEEJ? Like what are some of the DEEJ traditions?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, there are DEEJ traditions. Actually, there's I tell you what, this is like going to be like a reminiscing type of DEEJ cast here, where we're just going to talk about good stuff. Why don't you bring the guest on, because he's a good friend and it's good partnership that we had this year. Bring him on.
Is that how you get out of talking about or answering the question?
No, it's just I'm about to go on a good story, and it might take too long before
we might as well share it with a friend of ours. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome to Dan Jourdan Live, our friend, our good buddy, doing marketing the Marine Corps way, the one, the only president, COO, and Burgermeister of Fuhsion Marketing, Mr. Jim Fuhs. Jim, how are you, man?
Doing great, guys. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas Eve for all our friends that just celebrated Hanukkah. Hope it's been great. And Dan, it's great to see you again. It was great to actually see you in person last week at Rich Heart Global, and always great to be here with my friend Chris Stone. And I know it's been a tough season for him with his football teams, but
that's life in the fast lane. No, it's good. But we first met in person, which is good. But now this is kind of a new thing. We have a Chris Stone there in the garage, and then we have me here in the Southern Command Center, and you're hanging out at the comedy club. I think it's a good place that we all get to see each other in our natural environments, which is always a good thing.
Yes, I'm in the basement comedy club. Yes.
So I called my sister today for a reason that I'll tell you in a moment, but she informed me that today is the first day of Festivus.
For the rest of us, yes.
Yes, and so that's a big deal. I used to be kind of against all these kind of new holidays and stuff, but I think, you know, now anytime people get a chance to celebrate anything, I think is kind of good. So, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
I think for Festivus, especially the airing of the grievances, because I got a lot of problems with you people.
That's great. I'm telling you that we should. That's probably the funniest episode with the dad there. He's just hilarious. You got a problem with me? You want a piece of me? So here's the thing. So every day, Jim Fuhs, being that you know, this year people talked about. I'm not one to air grievances. I think this was a great year and all the things, because it really taught us to do things. But one of the greatest things from this year, in my opinion, has been the new partnerships and relationships that we had, that we were kind of forced upon us, and they really, I think, if you hooked up with the right people, you're a better person this year than you were last year, which is
absolutely
a good thing. So one of my things that I do every morning, I have a little routine, and it's just a personal thing just to get my head straight. But one of the things I do is I write in my journal every morning, and it always starts the same with the date, the day, the time that I'm writing it, and the weather. But the weather is over. There's only two things about the weather: beautiful or not beautiful. And it's always beautiful. So it's always been beautiful. So I'm just faking myself out. That's how it starts. And how it ends is today is a great day. So what's in the middle is just personal stuff or whatever. But the two things always start the same. So today when I wrote it, I wrote the date, and I realized today is my dad's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to you.
Yeah. Dad. Well, my dad's no longer with us. Yeah. Papa died, but today was his birthday, and I wrote it. And the weirdest thing, as I wrote it, all day long, I've been kind of off center. I have, in fact, I'm home now here in the Southern Command Center, which many people don't realize that the studio here is actually a closet in my basement, but it sounds so much better when you say the Southern Command Center.
The secret's out now.
Yeah. I was with my accountant earlier, and I said, listen, I got to do this podcast. I'm going to the Southern Command Center. And he said, where's that located? I'm like, it's like a bad cave.
Is it deductible?
Yeah. It's absolutely deductible, when I told him that. But, you don't know that when you're in sales and when you're marketing to people, Jim, like what you do, you never know, the moment in time that you're hitting with people saying yes to something or saying sometimes there's hidden reasons why they're responding or not responding to what you're putting out there. So, in marketing, how do you deal with that?
Well, I think first of all, you've got to get out there. You've got to think of awareness, right? Everything is about building know, like, and trust. And I think in marketing where people fail is they try to go to the sale right away. And it's like, I don't even know you. I mean, how many pitches are you getting on LinkedIn where someone connects with you and says, I'd love to connect with you and talk about your HR. It's like, well, you obviously haven't read my profile because you could tell that I'm a solopreneur and I'm an HR of one. So I really don't need your services. And I think people forget that. Like even with ads on Facebook, people don't think about it, but the Facebook ads funnel is really a know, like, trust. Know is the awareness ad. Like, my business is now open. Well, if I follow you, then I go to like the next round, which is the like ads, because I'm a little bit more interested in your content. Then those people that know and like you, now they're more willing to convert. But I think too many times in marketing, people just try to go straight for the sale, and they sometimes don't even know who their audience is. Yeah,
and how to react to that. I mean, how to, so the types of ads that you do are different based on the level that of interest that the person has.
Absolutely.
So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with someone who calls you and says, hey, an HR person talking about your company? I'm calling regarding your HR to see how we can help you. Or who's the person?
And I know, DEEJ, this is where you can call me only because your number is in my contacts. But if I don't recognize your phone number, I don't answer. I'm the anti-cold call guy. Yes.
You know how many opportunities you're missing?
Probably millions.
All right,
but I get a lot more done by not answering numbers I don't recognize. Because how many times have you answered, this is the IRS and we're going to take your money, and it's like, or your social security number has been compromised. And so I look at it this way. If you leave me a message, you're serious, and I'll call you right back. But I think what I think is important is that we have to control our time. And it's so easy today to allow the phone or email or text messaging to ruin our life and our rhythm if we respond every time the phone goes off. So that's been my big control mechanism is we do things on my time, Mr. Hand.
That is money. I love that. And so I always coach everybody to go ahead and leave a good, compelling message. I'm like really big time. Jim, real quickly, this is Dan Jourdan. Give me a call, 678-910-9912 in terms of saving money on blah, blah, blah. And if you call me back, you're interested in blah, blah, blah. And so I know I have some. But secretly, I hate when you call me back because then I know I'm not in control. I'm responding to you. The reason why I love cold calling is if you're married, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Christone, you're married to a beautiful woman, very lovely woman.
Thank you.
She's the one who says, I can't believe it, but every day I got to get my daily dose of the DEEJ.
Exactly. I've outpunted my coverage.
Yeah. She's a great person. Anyway, if you're married, the only time you're ever in control of anything is when you're cold calling. You get to decide when you're going to make the call. You get to decide what you're going to say. You get to decide whether or not you want to end it or what have you. You're in total control. If somebody calls you, you're ceding a little of that until you take it. So I think
Dan, I have a question here. Hello, Mark Davis from Texas. Welcome to the show. And of course,
Mark
anybody
Davis
that's joining us and we see some folks on, feel free to ask any questions of Jim Fuhs of Fuhsion Marketing, Chris Stone of Cast Ahead, that's me, and of course, it's Dan Jourdan Live. So Dan,
it's
you
okay.
can ask him questions. You can call him, and he'll call you. Although, Dan, you said when you get called back, you've lost control.
Yes.
Tell me exactly what you mean by the loss of control, and when that call is coming back, how you would regain that control. And I know the words, losing control and gaining control sometimes can be taken out of context. And I know you don't mean like, I want to control, it's more of a way to get them to move from, a maybe to a yes. So the loss of control that you have when they call back, and how do you turn that?
Yes, it's because now you don't know why they're calling. A lot of people return. By the way, Mark Davis, put right there what you do. I know I've seen you on LinkedIn or something like that from Texas. But tell me what you do. We'll see if we can get you some customers.
Looks like
he's a soccer fan.
That's a soccer emblem. Yeah.
No, that's actually Air Force.
Oh, is it?
Oh,
it looks like a soccer ball on the front. All right. Thank you for your service, Mark Davis.
You're just think of how you're disrespecting the United States Air Force by calling them a soccer ball.
I was ignorant to the Air Force logo. I will fully admit that. But I will not dispute that the front of that kind of looks like the soccer ball. True. Okay, so
all right, there you go. He's a soccer fan. All right, soccer fan. So yes,
he might be a soccer fan.
When people call back, there's your assumption is, oh, they're interested, but they might be really. Let's see, what's this number? I don't know what it is. It looks something like my number, and they just call it back. What's this about? And so it's really a true cold call. But they have the power because they initiated it. And so now you're almost like on the receiving end, like how can so what's this all about? And now you're in like full pitch mode before you even built that relationship or anything. So you have to take it back right there. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you called me back. No, even my mother doesn't call me back. And now they laugh and say, oh, no problem. Now they're in a good mood. And now you earned your way in. But you got to take it back right there. So, but that's all scripted. I mean, I plan that stuff. That's what happens. And that happens. It's some of my best friends sell credit card processing services. Now that's real sales. And there's a few industries that are real sales, copier salespeople, car salespeople, and credit card people, because they think they got only price to go after. That's all they do. Go in there. Hey, I'll tell you what, just give me your last bill. Let me see if I can save you some money. If I could save you money, I'll let you know. If I can't, I'll let you know that too. And I'll just at least that you're with a good company, right? The only problem is these people get these hit on like that 30 times a day. And like you said, Jim Fuhs, you have to control your day. You can't do that stuff.
But and that's an interesting industry too, because I think to your point, you have to bring more than price to the table sometimes, because I might be willing to pay more because of relationships and because of customer service than necessarily, I want the cheapest. Because, sometimes it's like you get what you pay for. And I think that's something we have to be careful about. And so I think, that's one of those things that I think as a business, when you're calling someone, are you prepared to answer those things as well?
Yeah, it's actually 100% customer service. It's a percent there and a percent here and all that stuff. If you can make it easier for somebody to know where their money's coming from and how much they're just very happy. If they say, listen, dude, you got somebody to call 24 hours a day if something goes wrong. If you have any questions with integration, we're your man over there. If you try to call these other companies, try to get a hold of PayPal. Go ahead. I dare you. Try to call PayPal. See what happens. I mean, nightmarish thing. It's like trying to call Google. You ever try to call Google?
Or Facebook?
Yeah. Now, did I tell you that I called for Jeff Bezos once? Yeah, I just picked up the phone. I cold called him. So, hello, is Jeff there? And like the receptionist, I thought I was special. Like, oh, she's gonna laugh at me. You can't talk. Apparently, she gets these calls all the time. And they say, she was very, very polite. Thank you so much for calling. He actually doesn't accept phone calls like this. But if you'd like to email, sometimes he responds. Would you like his email address? By the way, think of how beautiful that was. Not only did she say no to me in a pleasant way, but she made me feel good about myself that other people do this and he just doesn't do that. And then she gave me a solution and closed me. Would you like... She said, you can email him, which was the solution. And then she added the extra, would you like his email address? The only thing I could possibly say is yes and get off the phone.
Yes. Right. Exactly.
Did you email him?
Yeah.
What?
Did you email him?
Of course. Yeah. You know what his email is? You can get it too. Anybody who wants to email. Jeff at Amazon. It's just Jeff at Amazon.com.
So now that you have an Amazon live show, Dan.
Yes, which I haven't been doing anything with.
You could ask or email him actually if he'd like to be a guest on your show. I mean, that could be a thing.
We got to get. That would be a good get, wouldn't it? So tell me, Chris Stone, about you. What's going on this year with you and Cast Ahead? How have you grown through partnerships with Cast Ahead this year?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think I met you at the top of the year.
You got to put yourself on the big thing. You see, this is what producers do.
Yeah, right.
Oh no, that's
I'm wearing. This is Inception for me right now. I'm wearing 14 hats.
Yes.
And doing this. So hi, now I'm big. But Dan. So I met you at the top of the year. It started my company, Cast Ahead at castahead.net. And originally the plan was primarily to work in podcasting, and anything outside of pure audio podcasting was frosting, gravy, if you will. So I was dabbling in some social media with some clients. I was dabbling in some video with some other clients. And, Dan, you and I developed a great partnership with the Sales Energizer podcast, and obviously the show that we're watching and are live on right now. And so that just sort of snowballed into, getting these reps in and developing something that was more centered around video and around social media, and really working with, people like yourself or businesses to develop things. And of course, I met Jim Fuhs, who's also on the show today, through an actual physical meetup at Podcast Atlanta. Shout out to Mark Deal in the fastest growing meetup that there is on meetup.com, which is Podcast Atlanta. And we met a couple times there. And then after that, we got to know each other and basically developed something to where we're not quite sure how we're going to do this, but we need to work together in some aspect. I knew he had things that I didn't have and vice versa. And so we would get on calls and we would start talking about this, and we just started giving to each other. We just started saying, hey, and Dan, you and I do the same thing here. You'll offer some of your sales expertise. I'll offer you whatever I can offer that, for sound and for, all of that stuff. And it was just really just a giving conversation that led to finally, we don't know how we're going to do business together, but, Jim was approved to be in the Amazon influencer program because he has more Twitter followers than Kim Kardashian. And so when he was approved, he
Well,
called
have you
me.
ever seen his tuchus? He's got a nice looking tuchus.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll break the internet if he,
Yeah.
ever loses that Fuhsion marketing golf shirt. But if once that happened, he called me and he said, this happened, and we just started talking. I was like, let's do a show together and let's figure out how. And I think, Jim, maybe the conversation was, maybe an hour. And at the end of that hour, we had developed a plan for what we wanted to do on Amazon Live, and we call it Dealcasters Live. And we decided that what we were going to do was different than what's on the platform, which is a lot of people applying makeup or people just drilling down through products and just kind of like talking about them and are more like, the pretty influencer folks. And so what we decided we were going to do is all of these things we had been doing, having conversations with people like Dan Jourdan, having conversations with influencers. Jim knows a gazillion people in social media. Again, Twitter following bigger than Kim Kardashian. And so we can interview these people and talk about products that they use that happen to be available on Amazon.
So you do a real show. When does it come out? Do you have a little banner?
Not ready. A real producer would have a deal, but
that's
what I'll do right now for all the millions of people that are watching is I will put in the link, because Amazon, as you, Dan, as you well know, does not give you a lot of, does not give you a very pretty URL and a way to promote the place where you can go. So Jim and I, came up with the idea of just, we went and got dealcasters.live. And so if you go to dealcasters.live, it'll take you straight to our store front in the Amazon place. And you can watch all of our shows. We've done a bunch of shows. We've interviewed some great people. Even Dan Jourdan came on our show and showed everyone how to use a Vitamix. And Dan, we've sold 6 Vitamixes.
Have you really?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a DEEJ mix, baby. That's what it is. I mean, I was born to be a pitchman like that. You got to get me, pick another product and let me go, but I got to be passionate about it. And how could you not be passionate about the mix? I mean, mine all have names. Sir Mix-a-Lot was the original one. So you also, I should say that Chris Stone, really, you guys started with this partnership. You've also done some speaking things, haven't you, Jim? I mean, because people come and they see how well you guys are producing these shows, mine included. And I know Chris has gotten a bunch of business from other people who have guests who have been on the show and really like the producing. So when you're out there selling your stuff, you got to produce top quality. People will notice, and then you don't got to sell. They just want to buy. So similarly, what have you been doing, Jim, because of your expertise of getting people with these online meetings?
Well, I think what really helped, one thing by Chris and I, getting to know each other and working together. I think we like to joke sometimes that we're always figuring out how can we hack things. So whether it's StreamYard or, now we're even using things like Ecamm with StreamYard. So one of the things was, because we're constantly looking to get better. I know Chris probably hears me say this all the time. We always try to get 1% better every time we go out there, right? Because if you get more than that, you're just being lucky. And so when we did the Dealcasters Live, we looked, it's like we looked at what people were doing and we said, let's make this a real show, real content. I mean, we get it that people are there to shop, but if we give them something intriguing, they might watch a little bit longer. And so we bring on people like, we brought on Jennifer Watson was our first guest. She was amazing, talking about, weather, and at the same time talking about things you could use if you're in a bad storm. We ended up buying all the stuff she was talking about. And then we had we had on Chris Krimitsos, and Chris was, that's what he told us. He was so blown away at the professionalism of how we ran the show and our prep, that he reached out to us and said, hey, we'd like you guys to apply to be speakers at VidFest to talk about Amazon Live. So because we've continually working at this stuff, we did something completely different that we had never tried before, but we went live on Zoom basically in a look like this, with where your picture would be, Dan, was our presentation, but you could see both of us at the same time. So it wasn't the thing like on Zoom where you're like, if I talk, all of a sudden I pop up, and then when Chris talks, he pops up. And so people were just like, wow, how'd they do that? And so it's, we continue to get opportunities to talk. And then we also have taken this into virtual events. We've run 2 events so far in the last 3 months. And it looks like right now we've got one that's in the works, and the people we just did an event for, I think they want us to do a quarterly event for them next year, because the truth of the matter is, I don't think we're ever going to go completely back to pre-COVID. And for a variety of reasons. As much as people like the interaction face-to-face, this has given us the opportunity. I mean, Chris and I are in Jeremy Siegel's influencer meetup group. You're getting a chance to meet people from all over the country and sometimes the world because of the power of the internet. That would have never happened if we were still running off to our in-person meetings, driving half an hour to an hour each way to get to talk for 60 seconds. So I think that, to me, has really been eye-opening. There's been a lot of businesses that have struggled, and we definitely wish everybody success. So it's like, how can you set yourself apart and continue to move forward? And I think there's all kinds of opportunities, and like some of the fundamentals, right? Like what you do with sales, those are never going to change. It's just how you deliver it.
Exactly right. It's just a new medium. But and when you talked earlier about by the way, we don't use that word, that COVID word here. We find it offensive. Instead, we call it the China virus. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, the communist China virus, just to keep things light and airy. So, but yes, the whole idea is bring the goods and be professional. A lot of that is just getting started. Like your guy, Chris Comezzo, says, to start ugly. And that's what I think this year, 2021, that's what people got to do. If anybody's watching this, the lesson is, man, just this, whether or not it's the entire future or not, it is part of it. To be on video and to get comfortable there, and get comfortable with the technology, you might as well get started, and you'll feel better when you do. So I just recently went live all by myself. You saw that yesterday.
Yes,
yeah,
we did.
I was proud for you.
Yes,
it wasn't ugly.
It was ugly.
Ugly-ish.
But
still, you started. That's the biggest thing. You did it.
All I want to know, Dan, is, do you have a new appreciation for your producer?
Oh my gosh, 1,000%.
Okay.
1,000%. And
I'll tell you something, Dan. And I don't want to get off the tangent here too much or get too far. But I do want to dovetail. I do want to dovetail on something that you said, and something you taught me was that you need to speak to people in outcomes. And so many times, everyone's, developing their elevator pitch. Jim and I, same thing. When we're talking to companies to do telesummits and virtual conferences and all of this other stuff, we're spending too much time talking about all of the stuff in the how-to and what goes on. People just want the product, the end product of what you're doing for them. They don't want to know, they don't want to figure out all of that stuff. So you talk to them about their outcomes. And when you tell them what their outcome is, and you say, this is what we do, and this is how much it is, that turns into business.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It wasn't really until that, and so we started going, we're talking to these people, and we're like, well, if you want to do this, this platform allows for this. And it was just like, finally, we're just like we're not getting any business because no one wants to know about that. No one wants to know how to make a podcast. They want a podcast.
In fact, it makes them angry.
Right.
It makes them angry when you start doing that.
If someone wants to know how to make a podcast, I mean, I have a price for that, but that's not really our customer. The customer is someone that just wants a podcast. They want to talk into a mic and have a podcast.
I'm going to tell you how to double your business right now this year. Chris Stone, right now. Next year, this time, you'll have twice as many customers and earning 10 times the money. Now, this is what you do. You use Fuhsion Marketing, and he'll show you how to get the lead generators for people who want a podcast or people who want video stuff or whatever you're selling, all like that. When they come in, your sales pitch is this. You send them a video clip of this, and you send them a podcast that's all completed. And you say, this is what you'll get, and this is what you'll get. This is the price. We can get started on Wednesday. That's your pitch.
Is that more or less than you were expecting?
Yeah. Is that more or less? That's right. That's my line. That's my closing line. So the price for this whole thing is $15,000. I just got to ask, Jim, is that more or less than you were expecting?
It's a little less, actually.
Okay.
I always love it. I always love it. And Dan does this as well. It's just, I mean, we're running all over the place like a squirrel, but he does this too, especially when you're talking in front of people. You'll say, does that make sense? Say yes. It's like you're asking, you're not only just asking the question and you're telling them what to say. It's like,
yeah, that's right.
Got no choice.
You got to get them involved. You got to get people involved, but that's it. If you would just, so the outcome is this video, the outcome is this live show. Just say, here it is. Here's a link. This will be you, picture your name on it. You know, I mean, that's it. And they'll
see you could be standing in the Southern Command Center, surrounded by your daughter's paintings.
So what happens
with
is,
blankets.
You know how your kids make all the artwork that you think is gorgeous and they think is terrible. You know,
it is good.
It's nice.
I can sell it on Etsy.
Yeah, it's not supposed to. One of these, not this one, but one of these she sold for like $180. $180. You know, but then she canceled the sale. She didn't want to sell it.
Well, and the impression value she's getting right now is just.
Oh, that's right. This is
yeah.
So here's the ocean view one. I know people want to see a turtle from underwater. So here's a turtle from underwater.
Oh wow.
Dan, you got to sell that. Sell that to us. Sell that to
How did
your,
you get the turtle to stay still for so long?
Yeah, well, you know, the thing about art is, you know, a lot of people think they have to spend a lot of money and get a lot of artwork, and then you put it there on the wall and it stays there forever. But you know, art is like, you know, it changes with the moods, it changes with the seasons and all that stuff. You know, switch them around. All you got to do is switch around the paintings in your house, and you got like a brand new house. And you could do it, you know, all the time. So when you get things like this, you know, art is just pleasing stuff. I remember my dad when we were kids, going back to my dad. Oh, look at that. So my dad,
I'm changing up the art. That's all.
He used to like kitchen gadgets and tools. And he would have tools like in the basement. He would have like, you know, 15 you know, monkey wrenches, you know, those crescent wrenches, and all different sizes. And they go up and they'd be so big. And I go, Dad, have you ever used any of those? And his thing was to me, he goes, Danny, he goes, you know that piece of artwork we have in the living room? It's been there for 10 years. You know that piece of artwork there? I go, well, what do you do with that? Do you use that? What do you do with that thing? I said, oh, it's just a piece of art. He goes, aha. You know, it made him feel good to look at his wrenches and things on the wall. So, you know, people need to know what pleases them.
We didn't finish Papa's story, by the way. You wrote down his birthday.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
In the morning, and then you say you were off center.
Yeah, I still am.
Like,
not quite right. So I started. So what do you do when you're off center? This is something salespeople need to go through all the time. Sometimes you know, you're just not quite right, and you don't deserve to be on the phone. You can't be calling me, but you're not. And so what I've always done when that happens is to recognize what's happening and share it with as many people as possible. So I share it with customers. I say, man, I'm not quite right today. I don't know what it is. My daughter, you know, screwed up a painting. You got, man, yeah. And all of a sudden you start relating with people. And so I called my sister, and we talked for a little bit, and then I called a couple friends of mine here, and then I called some old friend. Actually, Stu Shapiro. Remember Stu Shapiro, the guy who always makes fun of me? Yeah, so he's an old friend from, you know, second grade or whatever. And so I was talking to him about Papa, and I said, I don't know, Stu, I'm just a little off or whatever. He goes, of course you're off. He goes, what are you, a freaking robot? you know, he goes, what do you think? You're just going to write down in your journal every day and you're going to check off your tasks and you're not going to, of course you're going to get a little upset. And so then he started talking about his dad and talking about me. And then we started talking about, being upset. And one time he goes, one time we were playing tennis at the Fairlawn Racket Club and I beat you and you called me a conceited bum, because I guess he was just like letting me have it. And like that really affected him. We must have been, 10 years old. That really affected him. And then he told me about it then, and I remembered it. And I'm like, so, okay, I won't do that anymore. And then we talked about a time where he tagged me out. I was playing Little League. I was on the Lions Club, and he was on NCB. It was a bank, and he was on NCB. His team was red. He had good players on it, Wayne Levitt, Scott Carlbach. And anyway, so he tagged me out. He used to play third base and first base, and he tagged me out at third, which is like terrible to get tagged out at third. And when he tagged me, he said, I got you, it was like one of those things. And I was about to let him have it. But I remembered how bad he felt when I called him a conceited bum before. And so I decided not to do it. And he thanked me for that just today. And, so that conversation happened because I was, talking about my dad, and being a little vulnerable there. And people think, in sales or in world or, creating partnerships and things like this, man,
listen,
everybody wipes their tuchus.
Vulnerability is huge. It is. It's I think for years, a lot of people were afraid to be vulnerable on LinkedIn. They wanted this big, shiny, look. And, we talked to guys like Say What Sales Buckley and other people like Kirk Mercadante and whatnot on the show about, part of owning your brand and part of owning what you do is being vulnerable and honest, and always that, because I think it comes back, it comes back to you. And, as if you're a manager, you're people that work for you, if you could just be a little vulnerable and honest with them. I'm not saying, share with them all of your deep, dark secrets. It's not,
don't make them uncomfortable.
Have some judgment, but I think it's, like if you just are not just a little vulnerable with people and understand that you're a human being and you do make mistakes and you're not always, right, centered, and you're, some days, so you have good days, you have bad days. And vulnerability is key in management. And I think vulnerability is key when you're dealing with potential clients as well. You just, you have everything scripted, and you can't create a perfect thing and expect someone really does think it's perfect. You have to weave in some vulnerability and some honesty there.
Yeah. And this book, I read this earlier this year, Ditch the Act by Ryan Fullen and Leonard Kim, talks about that, right? Share the real you at times, right? Like you said, he has these different levels. Like you don't necessarily get into politics and religion. And, maybe if you were an axe murderer, you may not want to share that. But a lot of these other things, right? Like Dan, nothing wrong with you going out there doing a short video. Say, you know what? Today I was off. I remembered it was my dad's birthday. People can relate to that because there is this constant push to want to be perfect. And I think sometimes that's why I like doing live video, because we can't take it back.
That's right.
Which is okay.
That's worth the money. This is why you have Jim Fuhs. That's exactly right. But going live is the definition of being vulnerable.
Yes.
You could bomb every day. I mean, Chris does it all the time. But
I'm bombing right now.
Keeps on going. By the way, so you had a tough year this year. Your dad passed away also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, my dad passed away this year, and my mother last year as well. So I mean, listen, I mean, we don't get out of this thing alive, and he lived to be, 87 years old, and had a fantastic life, and made mistakes. And so there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot of, tough stuff that's going on in the world today. But I recently was on a podcast with, a buddy of mine and Jim's. His name is Russ Hedge. He's written a book called Befuddled, and he just decided that the whole entire podcast, he was just going to have a bunch of people come on and talk about the blessings that happened in 2020.
Yes.
It wasn't like it was, oh, 2020 sucks, so I'm going. It was just, that was it. It was just like, talk about the great things that have happened to you this year. That was it.
Yeah. And I bet we all could come up with them too. And it's better, big stuff, big good things that happen. Even just remembering. By the way, you played baseball too. Did you play Little League? Didn't you also?
Me? I played little. I mostly was football, track, and
Okay. I was just thinking, because Stu, when I was talking to him about that thing, like he finished a game by turning a double play once, and he told me, like, but it was amazing how vivid your memory can be about something that feels that good. Because you remember I was on first base, and instead of going to the bag, I threw it to second first, then went back to first base and turned it, and we won the game. And the manager picked me up, and it was Steve Ballmer's dad was the coach when he was 12 years old, and so it was like, those things are so memorable. What if you can get that way with your customers too? And you can only get that way by being vulnerable and talking to them and having a good time. This whole thing is
you've had a great year. I mean, you've been on some big podcasts. I mean, this podcast with obviously with Victor Antonio and obviously Kurt Mercadante, and we've had I think this is a good time for us to just kind of talk about some of these great guests that we've had, where it was Patrick Tinney or there's just been some fantastic guests that have turned into some great friends. Right.
Yeah. Pat Helmers from Sales Babble.
Yeah. This is like, this show's about real networking, right? And real partnerships. And so, a lot of times when you go live and you're not afraid to start ugly and you develop things like this, you end up meeting these people that you bring on your show and you didn't really even know. And all of a sudden it just turns into something else, which begets something else, which turns into something else. While you're developing those reps, by the time you get to that 27th, something else, you're really good at what you got to do. But you don't get to 27 if you don't start with that first one. So.
Yeah, and then you're also associating with people, and everybody needs to do this. I mean, if everyone's watching, I'm just encouraging you, get involved. If there's somebody you want to meet, have yourself a podcast and invite them on. It's probably the cheapest way. Everybody wants attention. Everybody wants to get on and talk, and they don't really care about having the views up front. Don't worry about that, because you could parse out little pieces and then you could send it out and you could use it as marketing forever, and they know that, and the real marketers kind of know that, Jim, on how to set it up and get going. But it also, what helps me, I during this time of year, I like to make calls just to customers and to prospects and to past prospects and things like that, and just to call them. It's easy. Hello, Merry Christmas. Hey, I'm calling for no other reason other than to wish you a Merry. If you tried to buy something from me right now, I would say no to you. I am here solely to do that. You can't believe the conversations that ensue from that. I set up 4 appointments yesterday with that pitch. If you tried to buy some, but then we just talked, and I really like what you're doing. I've been seeing your stuff online, blah, 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 blah. I can't believe you do that. How do you do that? It gives me an opportunity to give referrals. And just yesterday, I had a gal who downloaded that thing right there on the bottom there. If you text DEEJ, text DEEJ to 55678, you'll immediately get some sales scripts, which you can use, which are awesome. But what happens is I get your telephone number. And so you put somebody's cell phone number in my hand, baby, it's going to work. And so I called this person yesterday, and she says, "Hey, Dan, it's Lori Brown. How you doing?" Anyway, she's going to come on the show. She's someone I knew from years ago. And she was saying, "Man, I've been seeing what you're doing. How do you do that? You've really grown." And opened me up to a whole new network of people. And so even though you think nobody's watching, they're kind of watching. And when you could reach out to them this time of year, they welcome that conversation. It doesn't take much I remember this from long ago. I'm stealing all your time, Jim Fuhsion, but I got something to say. I remember I was in the car once with a guy, and we were driving. I was a stockbroker. This was a long time ago, and it was like one of my bigger accounts. And so he convinced me to go into the Optimist Club. I'm like 27, 28 years old or something, and everybody there's like 1,000. You know, it was like, it was the most pessimistic Optimist Club, you know, in America. But I figured the guy had a lot of money with him. Let me join the Optimist Club. They really liked when I came. And so I went there, and as we're driving there was a billboard for the guys. It was an attorney, and the amount of pride that he took to tell me, you see that guy up there? That's my attorney. That guy was a celebrity, and he was proud to know him. All the guy was doing, he was a lawyer advertising. He was a slip and fall lawyer advertising, and he was taking pride. I thought to myself, I remembered it registered then. I thought to myself, oh my gosh, to be a celebrity, all you need is a billboard. Well, this venue is the best. It's the cheapest billboard out there. Not to use it, my opinion, is a sin. All right, Jim, go ahead. Take it away.
I think that's a great point. I can't tell you, especially more so before we got into China, how many people would come up to me at meetings and say, "I love what you're doing on LinkedIn or wherever," and I'm like, "What? You've never liked or commented on the video anywhere?" So they're out there watching you. I mean, and it may be, a month from now, it might be 6 months from now, it might be a year from now. But if you're consistent and they see what you're doing, at some point, they're going to say, you know what, I'm now ready to do something. And so it goes back to, you're building that awareness. You're building that know, like, and trust through being you authentically using live video. I mean, and I think that's the other thing is people get caught up, been doing some YouTube stuff, but it's funny because sometimes people will say, well, I'm working on my YouTube videos. Well, a lot of times when I do my YouTube videos, unless I just completely mess it up, I do it in one take, because I'm not going to sit there and try to like, oh, I had an in it, right? We'll talk about Toastmasters, right? Because if I keep trying to do it over and over, it's just not going to be the same. I think a lot of times, right? Our first time is our best time.
Yes. They don't call me one take Jourdan for nothing.
Well, just and also, saying. Where else they're watching you, Dan?
Kazakhstan?
They're watching you on YouTube, where if anyone's, look at you, you're peeking over. Can I peek over? Let me 1,000 YouTube subscribers. If that isn't the best part of 2020,
that was
Jim, the very first time I met Dan, he was speaking at a networking event that I was at, and he said, "Hey, listen, everybody, just go to my YouTube page and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I don't know what you were at. I'm at 816. I mean, I just got to get to 1,000, because if I can get to 1,000, I can monetize. But you forgot you got to have hours of time. And it was like, that's when I met him almost a year ago, and it just happened 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So that's something that's commendable, man. That's not something, nobody gets to. 1,000 may not seem like a lot to some people that have millions and millions and millions that they see on YouTube, but it's hard to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's hard. And you put forth the effort and the work, Dan. So congrats, man.
Thank you. It's you say it to some people and it's embarrassing. But I'm really proud of it. I think it's a good number, and YouTube is difficult now to grow because there's so many YouTube channels. But you know what? It's good. It's another win. It's just another win for 2020. And I think that it's why don't we do this? Finish off. What do you think 2021 is going to be like for you, Jim? How are you positioning yourself?
I think that well, first of all, I think Chris and I are going to continue to do great things with Dealcasters Live, I think we're going to just see that continue to grow and give us some opportunities that we would have never dreamed of 4 or 5 months ago, right? I mean, when we first started, we had no idea the doors it was going to open. I've already got some speaking engagements booked in 2021. So I'm looking to double or triple business at a minimum. I think got some exciting things in the works. Actually, Tim Sohn and I just talked today. We're going to write a book, about live streaming because he's part of what got me started in this over 2 years ago. So I thought it made sense for the two of us to write a book together about how to help people get started. And then you could be just like we are right now, because we all got to start, right? It goes back to Chris Krimitso's book, Start Ugly, right? Quit making excuses. Oh, I don't have the right camera. Oh, I don't have the right this or that. I mean, I started out with the not even a webcam. I think at first, I think it was the camera on my computer and the AirPod wired things that went into my computer, and just tried to get better every time we went out there. And so, excited about 2021. I think this has been a great year. I mean, I know there's been a lot of bad that happens, and I don't know. I'm an optimist for the most part. It doesn't mean we don't have challenges, but it does good to just get down. And I think the other thing that this year has done, I think next year will as well, is right. We continue to surround ourselves with people that raise us up. Meeting people like Chris, getting to know you better is just helped me be a better person. And I think that's what's the most important thing.
Well, that's great. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you remember this, but you threw me to the wolves one day. I was corralled to go to some, it was at the gym or something, some sort of Toastmaster meeting or some networking meeting or something. And all the equipment was fakaked and everything was messing up. And Jim just comes up to me and gives me a microphone and says, "Hey, can you talk for 15 minutes?" And then he videotaped it. I'm like, I don't even know what's going on, but that was great. Jim, you're right. An everlasting constant in a changing world, which is great. Chris Stone, tell me what you think about 2021. What are you going to do?
Oh, is this am I making predictions?
I'm
not a prognosticator, and that's why I don't bet on football. But I think, this year's been fantastic. But the partnership that Jim and I have developed, we're already talking about developing the next business plan for us, and it really kind of centers around sort of what Jim has touched on, and you, Dan, as well today. And so, when I decided to stay here in Atlanta and work remotely in 2007, when Sony closed down all of their local area branches. So in 2007, I've had to work virtually, and so I had a head start on, needing to make sure that my presentation in my basement of my home on a Zoom call made everyone feel like I was there. And when I was doing a presentation to Spotify, or if I was doing a presentation for Sony executives, it had to be impactful. And so I had to learn how to do that for a number of years. And I felt like I got pretty good at it because I stayed on for many years later. But I can't tell you how just amazing it is to me that even today, December 23rd of 2020, when everyone has been working remotely and virtually for 7 months plus or whatever, you still see people that can't do it. And you could be the best keynote speaker, the best motivational person, the best sales executive, whatever you are. But if you don't know how to do this, you're not going to sell anything. And so, Jim and I are already working on, virtual presentation skills, and how we're to do that. In other words, you want to be good at presenting virtually, we'll do that for you, type of deal, as opposed to we're going to show you how. Necessarily, you can watch a bunch of YouTube videos and probably take Victor Antonio's masterclass or whatever on that kind of stuff and learn how to do it yourself. That's cool. Most of that is what Jim and I have done. And so, but we're actually going to do it for you. And so we're excited
have it done
that
quickly.
potential.
I think it's going to be big. That's a big idea. Yeah, prognosticating never works out when you try to get. You remember do you guys remember the Psychic Network?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was a
what
one.
What was the name of the woman?
It was Dionne Warwick. Did she used to do? I don't know. It was a 1-900 number. You'd call them and say, "Hey, where are my socks? It's behind the couch," or whatever. Anyway, here's the thing: the Psychic Network went out of business. Now you would think they would have seen that coming. It's just like nobody. Yeah, nobody knows
sound effect.
What's going on. But what you said earlier, Jim, is probably the main thing. Is that you're an optimist. You have an optimistic outlook about everything, and you're willing, whatever happens. And if you get that feeling, whatever happens, if you can improvise, you can adapt, then you can overcome. And that's why this year, for people who have that ability, that kind of Marine Corps mindset, can go ahead and just take any situation and really make it to their benefit. I had a phone call yesterday. I called the guy, one of my calls, and it was really wonderful. And so I'm talking to him, and I said, "Listen, how's your year been?" His answer was magic. He said, "You know what? Pretty good so far. It's December 22nd. Pretty good so far." That guy is going to finish strong. It doesn't end until it ends, December 22nd. And that type of attitude is infectious. And no matter what you do, you'll be successful with it, because ultimately this game that we're in, the game, life or whatever, hell, it's supposed to be fun.
Right.
If you knew, if every day was the same, it would be miserable. And there's one thing worse than being miserable, and that's enjoying being miserable. And there are some people that some people, you walk into a room, they light the room up. Some people light the room up by leaving. And they just come in and bring all woe is me attitude to the plan. And you ask them, why do you always do that? And they'll just, I'm a realist, I'm this, I'm that. But the end result is they must like it because you don't do stuff that you don't like to do. The reason why people don't cold call is not because they don't know that it makes sense, that it's easy, that it's cheap, that the phone is light. They don't do it because they don't like to. And so, this has been the funnest year for me. My history has been, my wife would always, why do we always have to start from zero? I'd build up a good business and I'd sell it because it was no longer fun. And I built up another business and I'd sell it because it was no longer fun. Why do we have to start from zero? But this year was an entire year of fun. There was nothing was normal. Nothing was usual. Nobody could say, "Oh, that won't work," because nobody knew anything. And it gives you an opportunity to try and mess up and screw up. And even when you mess up, especially on something like this live, even when you mess up, people are thinking, "Crap, I wish I had the nuts to do that." You
remember we even had a guest that couldn't get the camera to work, but we kept going and just had a blank space while we listened to it the whole time.
The booty call. That was that great. So if nothing else, this year has given us that type of attitude can work. Instead of people just calling me crazy all the time. "Oh, you always see the sun, the silver lining." Well, you know what? It works just to see that. People still graduate. People are still born. People still go to school. People still, start new businesses. People still, fail and then, don't die from failing. People get sick. People get better. Man, baby, it's a good. I was reading up on the Zika virus today. Remember the Zika virus?
Oh, yeah.
It was spread by mosquitoes and brains, and it's killing everybody. You know what it does? It kills the same amount of people now as it did then. We just stopped talking about it, and so now it's not in our minds anymore. And so if for my 2021, the reason why I know it's going to be my best year ever is because I am practicing the ignore movement, not the anger movement, not the disrespect movement, just the ignore. Ignore everything that doesn't touch you personally. Anything that's not firsthand type of information, I just ignore it because it's probably not true. If you hear it from somebody who heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody, just we're humans. It'll get screwed up. People have biases. But this conversation that we're having, you and me, ideas, taking action, this type of stuff, this is real. This is what we pay attention to. And if you do that, you don't got to worry about all the things in the world that are happening. You worry about number one, and your family, your friends, and your year and your life will be one to write a book about. Jim Fuhs. You guys are awesome. You have any other final comments?
No, just thanks for having me on. This has been a lot of fun. Looking forward to us all working together. Not only in 2021, but Chris and I will be doing some stuff for the before the year is out, and so we'll have to have you back on Dealcasters Live and sell a few more of your blenders.
That's it. It's all about strategic partnerships. That is really true. You could double and triple and quadruple your business. You guys, what you do, you could do for major companies or any kind of companies and trade those services, not only for money, but also for their services that you can redo. I'm so excited about 2021 for you guys. You just make sure you can sell a wheelbarrow. Do they sell wheelbarrows on Amazon?
I think so.
Yeah, because you're gonna need a couple of those to bring all your money back home from the bank, baby. You're the best. I'm the DEEJ. Go get it. Put your arms in the air, guys. Go get them today.